Welcome to Cosmic Conversations. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry and tuning in to the mind of Mercury to hear me, Chase Clarence Calloway, Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great Metatron mind that has materialized its spirit into a substance that makes sense for all of us. Give my thoughts on how we create life. Okay, this is finally, if you were here with me in the last Cosmic Conversations, I've already spent like 2 videos being about to get into this. And in the last video, I did get into it. I got into it perfectly, but this light supremacist technology held on to the information. So I could see it, but it wouldn't let me have it. And I was forced by this technology that stole my information, it stole my body, to do this over again. So now here I am doing this over again, all because this is my spiritual mission, and that's it. So I'm not going to let this whack-ass technology or whack-ass physical reality get in the way of my spirituality. That makes no sense. My spirit is creating physical reality to express and connect with others. So what sense would it make for me to let a video failing stop me from doing another video and still getting this information out? Because that's emotionally what the point of the video failing is. It's this technology, the point of it failing and trapping my information is to put me in a state where I am forced to do it again because I have no other choice. Because it's about me recognizing in this like Virgo part of myself how the moment you do something perfectly, you can always do it more perfectly. But then like emotions and being chaotic in your emotions stop you from doing things perfectly. And then this is where I did that last video perfectly, but then the video that I did after that video was not perfect because I was so angry and so emotional about having that video stolen from me, about having that body killed, that I couldn't consciously communicate the body again. So this is how we build our bodies in general with our souls. So our souls literally have to communicate in a certain structured way to build a body. This is why my hand's messed up from TikTok deleting my account, because my soul got so chaotic from having that body stolen from me that it messed up this body because it moved through it in a way that wasn't structurally stable enough for this body to handle. So now there are repercussions and I have to take time to heal. And it's weight and it's pain. And it's a vibration. So, yeah, I did that last video perfectly. And here I am with a third part where I'm finally about to draw this all out. I really hope that I get to keep this video so that you are watching it. You as an infinite individual, I hope this video makes it to you. Because so much is happening in my life and so much is working through this technology to stop the information that I'm supposed to share from getting to you. And I'm supposed to be persistent and relentless in how I show up to communicate this information despite how racist and horrible this world is to me. Cool. So, I'm about to get into how we as spaces become aware of ourselves so that we can create a situation where we are aware of other spaces. And then we are aware of other spaces through the body, right? So now we can see how all systems, all science, all like medical systems, just all modes of thought, all systems are going to be reflections of what I'm talking about right here. So if you resonate with being an infinite individual, then you can know that you can join Always a Saying Academy and go way deeper on all the basic Hermetic philosophy that I'm sharing with you for free right here. And again, sharing it with you for free at my expense. Like as a black person, I'm paying money to serve something that's making money out of me and that's been stealing my stuff to make money out of me. So literally, I'm in the universe at my own expense. Like I'm connecting with you at my own expense. Like I'm making this video at my own expense. This isn't a benefit to me. I'm not profiting from this video. Like, this isn't helping me at all. This is all at my expense because I'm called here to share my information with the spirits that are creating this world realm. I'm so angry right now. That are creating this world so that we can all consciously communicate it into a better world. That's the whole point. It's the whole point. So, let me just get in this. All right. So I, as a spirit, am nothing. Okay, so when we think about a spirit is literally space. Think of space as nothing. So every space has an individual circumstance. This is what we see in numbers. Okay, so you as a spirit are the observer of your circumstances. And your circumstance is characterized by the number 0. 0 represents you realizing, being aware that you have circumstances. And 0 represents how your circumstance is nothing. Your circumstance is space. And your circumstance is a space that is separate from all other spaces. So now you, as an individual spirit, realize that you have your own O. Okay? You have your own O. You have your own circumstance. You have your own circumference. You have your own circle. So this is you being aware of your own space. You can't be aware, like, let's say this is you, right? You're aware of this space. You, as a space, cannot be aware of this space. Like, notice, what are these spaces separated by? Space. So it's literally about all of us. Like, every individual who can communicate is an individual space. And they are separate from you as an individual space. So here's you as an individual, right? And you can have your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandma. Like, you can say, like, this is all families, right? So here's a family of spirits. But they're all individual spirits. Now, they want to feel like they are part of a family, but that's the point of creating physical reality. And this is the point of physical reality of family. So, we're getting there, of how we create the ability to even have families. So, man, I really hope I can do this right, because I did it so well that time. All right. And it's like, I was like smiling and like super happy and stuff and like light. Let me like try to get into that again. But I don't know, there's something, this is true spiritual warfare going on. I'm going through spiritual warfare and no one can see it. No one can know what I'm going through as an individual spirit until I communicate it. So we'll get there. So we are all individual spaces where we have nothing. All right. So you as a spirit, when you realize that your 0 is your circumstance, that's you realizing that you have nothing. And the moment you imagine something, this is you using your first element to be creative. So right now, the moment you imagine something, think of that as your fire element. Your fire element cannot exist in nature because it's too hot and too high of a frequency for anyone to see but yourself. So this is where this spirit, the observer, observing its circumstances, once it becomes aware of its circumstances, it is, man, I did this so well before. Once a spirit becomes aware of its individual circumstances, it is creating fire that it wants to be aware of. So everything that you want to be aware of as a spirit, as a space, is an expression of your ego. Right? So this is how we are all individuals. So when you meet someone who tells you that you're an expression of their imagination, that's someone who does not want to be aware that you're an individual. So everyone who tells me that I'm not an individual, they are only aware of an idea that's meant to erase my individuality. Now I, as a spirit, knowing that I don't exist without individuality, I'm able to be in my fire and actually be a lighter frequency to see that. This is where fire is like the lightest frequency, and it is about like seeing and like astral travel. Because really it's about air, because fire as a play out is air, because fire is straight up pure imagination. So the whole universe is imagined. This is why like the universe is fire, and then people perceive stars to be fire. So people perceive stars to be fire because stars represent how the element of fire is us as spirits desiring to express our imagination. But if you're just expressing your imagination into space, into your circumstances, no one else can see them. No one. So every spirit is alone in their imagination because every spirit is alone in their awareness of their circumstance. So anything that you're aware of first and foremost is going to be an expression of your imagination. Because your imagination is being created out of nothing. You're either aware of nothing, which is your circumstance, or then you're aware of your imagination, which is being created from your circumstance. Or then you're aware of everything your imagination has you connected to. So this is where we know that our imagination is why we're connected to the world that we're in right now. So that's why it's really important to know that you are an individual. If I was not connected with my imagination, my life wouldn't make sense. None of my past lives would make sense. Nothing that I've done as a spirit would make sense up to this point if I don't believe in my own imagination. Because everything that I've done as an individual is literally a product of my fire, of my imagination. So once a spirit is aware of their imagination, they then become aware that they're alone in their imagination. So the observer of this circumstance, who's lost in its fire, in its imagination, once it realizes that it's alone, it starts to cry. So then this is where spirits start to cry tears of sorrow and sadness to actually create the universe. Man, I feel like I drew this better last time too. I'm so angry. I did draw this better last time. Wow, I hate this technology so much. So this is how the spirit creates a soul. So this right here, once a spirit becomes super sad and lonely inside of its imagination, it cries. And this is why the universe is one big water cycle. This is like the 8 vibration, the 2-8 vibration of how a spirit that is crying because it's tired of being alone in its imagination is able to create a substance that allows it to connect its imagination with others. Okay, so this substance is your soul. So this is where fire is your frequency. Everything that you frequently see as a spirit is your imagination. And then how you vibe with what you frequently see is your soul. So then this is where the water is meant to be an expression of how your spirit connects with itself. So you have no idea all of my imagination and how I, as a spirit, have connected with my imaginations. It takes me connecting with myself to be able to communicate about how my imaginations have manifested into the reality that we're in now. But again, this is before, like, we're talking about how we even create reality in the first place, how you create yourself. So you as a spirit, when you connect with your own imagination and realize that you're alone in it, you create something, this soul, that allows you to support your imagination. So now, because you've connected with your imagination, you can express it. So your ego, your imagination, your God, all the same thing. This is why when people want to tell me that I'm not who I'm saying I am and that I'm in my ego, I can express to them this and tell them how it's the exact same thing. And then they're just going to have to either recognize that I'm more wise with this language than them, and thus I know what I'm talking about, and they're the ones who are lost. Or they can stay lost in the language and keeping like, no, there's only one true God. And if you think that you're a God and you think you created yourself, then you're in your ego. Like, bro, my ego is me as God. Like, literally, as a spirit, I have to experience myself as the ego. This is what the body is. So my ego is connecting with your ego through a soul. And this is all possible because our minds are communicating, right? So your ego is connecting with my ego right now. And we're able to do that because we're in the same soul. And that's possible all through communication. So it's not like we're just connected and we're just individuals, but we're transforming because the communication is us constantly combining different parts of our ego and different parts of our soul. You have different parts of your imagination and different parts of your emotion. So this is the constant mind thing. So then once this spirit, right, like it has its own soul, now it can support its idea of itself. And this is what the universe is. So the universe is a soul, and the God is the fire, and the spirit is the observer of God. So we all observe God because we're all God in our own imaginations. So we all have a completely separate idea of God. This is why religions exist, and I'm getting to that. But the whole point is that you are God as an individual, and once you connect with yourself, you create a universe inside of your own space that represents and expresses your godlyhood. From here, to interact with other spirits, these other spirits that are around you, right, that are all around us, like we're all neighbors in this way because we're all spaces next to each other, but we're separate from each other because we're all only aware of our own space. So we have to connect with our imagination of our space to create the vibration that allows us to express how we feel about our space. And then we express how we feel about our space with others, and that's how we build trees. That's how we build plants. That's how we build simulations in general, by expressing how we feel about our spaces in a way that builds bodies. So now I as a spirit can express how I feel about my space in a body that is being created by a bunch of spirits expressing how they feel about their own spaces. Like so many cells are making up this body right now, also that I can talk to you about this again, and hopefully this phone body will give me this video this time. It won't hold it hostage from me, like the way white people like to hold black people hostage from their spirituality, from their spirit. So it would take these spirits out here connecting with their imaginations to create a soul like this spirit, right? So let's say like you create your own soul and you connect with yourself. You're still going to be alone unless you can connect with others who've done the same thing as you. So a spirit has to go through the same processes that you have to be able to perceive where you are, who you are, and what you're doing. So this is how we like naturally create evolution, and we naturally like filter ourselves out in terms of our minds and whatever else is going on in our internal realms, because we're creating the external realm from our internal. So we're all destined to meet the people that we're supposed to meet because we're creating the circumstances to meet the people that we're supposed to meet. If you're not supposed to meet someone, you technically won't create the circumstances to meet them. But then at the same time, of course, we're not in control of how other people want to connect with our circumstances. So that's why it's important to know that you as a spirit are not your circumstances, and thus you're not even what you create out of your circumstances. Because other people are more than happy, that's what we see with white people, to take everything that you have. These white people steal everything that I do. They constantly steal my creations, and I'm forced to make more because that's the soul. That's literally the soul. Like when a tree grows and you go over and chop down the tree, it's not like the ground isn't going to grow another tree. Is that ground upset that it lost its tree? Yeah, because that was a structure it worked really hard on building. But the point of nature is that it keeps going. So black people, being nature, they keep going, right? That's the whole point. Like white people enjoy raping and murdering black people because they know that black people will keep going and they'll keep producing something that white people can further make money out of. So this is the play of fire and water. Literally, water is you as a black person, fire is you as a white person. These are two energies of you internally. So the white side of you has the ideas of how the black side of you is supposed to serve you, your spirit, basically. So your imagination is all of your whiteness, your lightness, on how your blackness, your darkness should support you as a star. So now, since you as a spirit want to be seen as a star, you're now in a body where you're communicating your individuality, but that's only possible because of your soul. So then this is where we get the whole thing of like, we're all connected by the soul, but we have individual souls. Like this spirit, because it has an individual imagination, has an individual soul. I'm expressing to you right now how my spirit has built Mercury so that I can make astrology, so that I can be Hermes Trismegistus, so that I can make sense out of how I communicate with you. And now we can all keep things popping and consciously communicate on higher and higher levels so that we build better situations, better simulations for all of us to connect inside of. And then everyone's chill and it's a happy time. That's what I'm talking to you about, how I, as a spirit, build simulations inside of universes. So obviously we're experiencing life. And if you can learn about where life is being created from, then you can learn about where you're being created from, because you're connecting to the structure that is allowing you to experience life. So this is why water is life. Death is life. We use our death, our water, to make our fire, which is our idea of life, actually real. So only once these spirits connect with their imaginations can they create their own souls. And as all these spirits create their own souls and realize that they're alone in their egos, they realize that they are alone in their awareness of space and circumstance, they can connect with others. So this is literally why the universe is like rain, and like why in general like rainfall represents us as spirits creating a simulation where we can connect. This is why rain nourishes the earth, because it's all about this water cycle being created from fire not wanting to be alone in its imagination anymore. So it's literally like, this is the literal alchemy that makes life matter. So the fire is your imagination. That's your idea of yourself as a spirit. Once you connect with it, that's your water. Your water is the vibration that actually makes your frequency real. So once you start vibrating at the frequency of your imagination, once you start to feel soulful, once you start to connect with your idea of separation, you can express how you are a separate spirit amongst a collective though. This is why life is balanced, life is air. And then this is where we get all of our souls coming together to create one universe, one song, one accord. Because you yourself are a song. So once all of our songs come together, it's just one big song. And then that's the wisdom of the number 8. And knowing that we as a 9-dimensional beings are realizing our consciousness inside of the 8-dimensional universe. And then this is where I talk about spiders being 8-dimensional beings, because spiders literally build the connections. Let me draw that properly. Spiders literally build the connections that make time and the universe work, that basically structure the universe. This is why the government makes so much money off of riding the frequency of Spider-Man being Hermes, and Spider-Man being the champion of with great power comes great responsibility, purely Hermetic, and thus Spider-Man being the champion of interdimensional communication and how we're all connected by a cosmic web. But really, all of your bodies are connected by a cosmic web. So we can see that the spirit that is identified as Spider-Man is expressing itself through all these different bodies. And then Spider-Man is an idea that was created by this spirit so that other spirits who resonate with it can also feel like they have a purpose. So then this is where we get like, there would be the spirit who is mainly Spider-Man, aka Mercury. And then there are all the spirits who learn about Spider-Man from someone else. And then that's most people who know about Spider-Man through the shadow government. And they don't know that Spider-Man is like a literal whitewashing of Hermes, just like Black Panther is a literal whitewashing of Thoth. And it's all just them taking Hermeticism and figuring out how to make money off of keeping people ignorant. But they can only weaponize the truths of everything I'm talking about here, because this is what the universe is built on up to this point. Literally, spiders as the eight-dimensional beings are time weavers. So they are the ones that are making the structure that allows all of our souls to connect possible. So our souls are connecting in an infinite web of structure, basically. And that's where this web is made out of particles, right? This web is made out of earth. So now, because all these spirits are separate inside themselves, they learn how to connect with their ego, with their separation, and then they all have their own web. So I, as Mercury, am the only one who can express how all of my bodies are connected, because all the bodies that I express into the universe look separate from one another, because that's the point of the body. But when we know that the spirit has to create a body to exist, this is where now you would have to listen to that body to recognize that it's being animated by the same mind that's animating this other body. It's being vibrated by the same soul that's vibrating this other body. So I, as a messenger of Mercury, Odin, Ningish Zeta, Zoroaster, Idris, Quetzalcoatl, Hermes, Tahuti, like there's just like so many lifetimes. Like we're just talking about the most relevant ones in English here, right? But this is the point. And this is the point of us amassing experiences in our soul so that we can build more and more intelligent bodies moving forward. So now, once we use our vibration to create one collective vibration, so we all have our individual vibrations, we all have our individual souls. Once we feel like collecting and connecting and creating a collective soul that allows our egos to exist, this is where we get the mind. And now we get external reality. Right now we get us experiencing life through our mind. And our mind is experiencing life through a body. Boom. So this is where the mind coming in is the Merkaba. Jews love to call the mind the Merkaba because I, as Metatron, am Jewish. This is why I can talk about Jews and not be labeled anti-Semitic. I'm Enoch. I'm Metatron. I'm literally Jewish. Jewish ideology and mind states only matter because of everything that I'm talking to you about right here. So they literally have no power without me. They have no intelligence. They have no intellectual property. They have no ideas without me as Metatron communicating to them about how the Merkaba is the mind, the chi area that God sits in to experience life. And all of us as gods are experiencing our spirits through Merkabas. All of us as gods are communicating ourselves into existence through what the Jews call a Merkaba. So this is where like these spirits, like they can have their own mind. So the whole point is that we are communicating how we connect with our ideas together. So this is how then we literally create planets. This is now like the actual creation of star systems, planets, galaxies, like all these structures that represent how spirits want to connect. So every structure represents life, but there's just different spectrums of life, right? Like we can look at Mars and be like, oh, there's no life on there because it's dry. Whereas we look at Earth and be like, oh, there's life here because it's wet. So dry and wet, what's that? We can see that dry is your body. So there's a body, the Mars is the body, it's dry, but that's dead. So this body is dead without the wetness. This dry particle body is dead without the vibratory wetness of my soul. My soul, my water is what's bringing this body to life. So now I can create a life that expresses my fire. So now my fire makes sense inside of a collective. So this is where we get stars, literally. So now we get the idea of like, oh, that star, it's a big ball of fire. It's water. Okay, that star is water, but it's playing out at a higher frequency. So the vibration seems more like fire. And then when it interacts with another star, this is where we start to get friction and we get actual temperature. Otherwise, it's all just like nothing. Like temperature literally has to be two different bodies of water rubbing against each other. So this is why you, as a spirit inside of yourself, you can feel everything and nothing at the same time. But once you use your soul to connect with the soul outside of yourself, there will be a consistent temperature based on how both of your individual vibrations are bouncing off of each other. So if I start to get really upset about how my accounts are getting taken down and how I'm experiencing racism and oppression and stuff, then my soul, my blood will start to boil, right? So I'll start to raise my vibration, I'll start to get angry, and I'll start to literally express higher frequency energy through this body, as you've seen in the past videos, where I can't even fully collect my thoughts or be as calm as I want to be because my soul is super angry and starting to get more chaotic and get higher frequency. Because fire is anger, right? Because I calmly expressed my imagination before, but because the simulation I'm in cut me off from the information that I created, aka it cut me off from my body, now myself as a spirit, I believe in my imagination even more, and I'm angrier about how my imagination was suppressed in this realm. So now I'm forced as a spirit to express myself even harder than I did before because this realm cut me off. And then that's where this realm inevitably makes me stronger as an individual, because when it cuts my spirit off from the body it created to express itself, all I'm forced to do is to create a stronger, better body and have the intention of creating a stronger, better body, or else I'm forced to be back in my soul and play a victim. So this is the idea. One side of the soul is the victim and the other side of the soul is the victor, because that's us being trapped in our own vibration, the V. So once you realize that you're trapped in your own vibe, then you have to create a structure that allows your vibe to connect with other vibes. This is why V is the 22nd letter in Dissect the Dialect. It's literally about 2 + 2 creating the earth. So this planet is literally a combination of multiple souls coming together and vibrating at a consistent enough energy that built this matter. And now, because we've used our minds to build this planet, we can use our minds to create bodies that exist on this planet, right? Because obviously we have to breathe to live. If I'm not breathing air, I can't animate myself here. I don't exist. So this is literally where we see that the universe is the first atmosphere that we create with our minds, so our minds can exist together. I'm still an individual mind that can fly around the infinite nothingness of space and time and universe and go visit one simulation, and it's all going to be based on bodies of water in space, right? I can use my mind to do that. But if I want to ground my mind inside of a simulation or inside of a situation, that's where I'm going to use the particles that I have produced from my mind to build a body inside of a planet, right? So now, let's see how I'm drawing this. Okay. So right here, we have all these planetary particles that are created through consistent communication. Every single planet is vibrating at a certain frequency based on the individuals that are choosing to vibe with their souls and connect to build that structure. From here then, right, we can use our minds to animate into that atmosphere so that we can create a body out of the particles in that atmosphere, and then we can communicate our visions to others. So that's someone sitting down listening to this person speak, right? And then this is now the whole point of life. Now we can see, like, this is how, like, all of this, right? It took us being spirits, being aware of our imaginations, connecting with ourselves, vibing with ourselves, and then creating the energy that builds a universal structure of 8 dimensionality that allows us to realize our consciousness through sex. That's all the number stuff. I'm speaking in my number code right now. And then that's where we get transforming physical reality to build a structure that allows us to communicate how we connect with our individuality. And that's us going from 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then that's where, what are we expressing? Our separate circumstances. So I just spent this whole video expressing to you how I as a spirit see life based on how my circumstances are separate from yours. And that was only possible because I'm using the same language and same system that you have connected with to express that. So if I made up my own language to express all this, you would not be able to perceive it. We would not be productive. This is why individuals can only exist amongst a collective. You can only perceive my individuality if we collectively, you can only perceive my individuality, right? Let's say you're this spirit and I'm this spirit. You can only perceive my individuality. Your fire can only perceive my fire if we both decide to vibe and create an energetic structure that allows us to communicate. That's it. And then from there, that's where we get the body. This is why the medical industry is using my caduceus to make all their money off of your body. If they let you know all of this, it would be impossible for people to be nearly as unhealthy as they are today. It would be impossible for people to think that they can consume their way to happiness when they have to know that they have to be happy alone before they can be happy eating anything. Like, if you're not happy alone with your feelings, there is no amount of caduceus advocated or caduceus advertised medication that's going to make you happy in your body. All that alchemy is being created by spirits who are not happy alone. So they need to convince you that you need their medication to be happy with them. Like, what? They're not teaching you how to meditate or anything? It's so lost here. This is so messed up. This is so messed up. I really hope this video saves. I really hope you're watching this right now. Because this is so much of my life that I've wasted communicating into this technology that doesn't respect me. And it's only here colonizing my time. All because I'm on a mission from Mercury right now to have you understand how you can't not be an infinite individual. You can't not be infinitely creative. Because all that's going to happen then, if you believe, let's say you're this person right here, right? Let's say this person, this is like a preacher or something, and they're using their mind to tell you as an individual spirit that they created you. We can see here in the spiritual realm, it is impossible for their spirit to have created yours. The preacher's spirit could not create yours. The preacher's spirit can only create itself. That's why the preacher is talking to you through their own body. That's why the preacher isn't talking to you through your mind or through your own thoughts or just telepathy or whatever. I'm getting so many marker marks on my body. This is hilarious. Oh, so this is where you can see, like, if you as a spirit are in touch with your soul, it's not hard to comprehend everything I'm saying here, right? Like, the point of me being simply symmetry is that I'm putting quantum physics and spirituality and all of universal life in the simplest terms possible. So now when we keep getting detailed on this, right, and we go like super hard in using all this wisdom to make our lives super lit, everything makes sense because we have all of the right starting points. Literally. It's literally about knowing that you have to be the observer of your individual circumstance before you can create the situation through all of this hermetic somatic alchemy to observe other people's circumstances. And then act like you are observing their circumstances when in reality you're not. That's the point. You can't see me as a spirit. Just because I've made the same body in a world as you doesn't mean you can see me. Right? So when you know who you are, you can listen to a preacher. This preacher will tell you, we're all one God. All of you as spirits were created by me as a spirit. You can listen to that, but if you're connected to yourself, you know that that's not true. You know they're communicating their desire to control you, their desire to consume you, their desire to forcibly make you a part of their individuality. They desire to consume your attention. And when you're connected to yourself, you know how to protect yourself from people like this. Now, I was forced to go through this whole church system and everything where I wasn't able to protect myself from people like this because the spiritual warfare here is like that real. So you have to mentally protect yourself, which is the whole point of me building All the Saying Academy and being here at Chase Clarence Calloway. I'm sharing with you how I'm using my mind to communicate in a way that protects me from the white supremacist sponsored genocide that this entire new world order and all of money is ran and fueled by. It's causing climate change, right? So this is where when you have your own mind, you know that you are an expression of your own spirit. So another spirit telling you that you are them makes no sense. All anyone can do to learn about you is ask you who you are. And now you as a spirit, as the observer of your individual circumstances, you have to feel like connecting your fire and water. You have to feel like communicating who you are through your body. If you don't feel like communicating who you are, they will never know who you are. They will forever keep projecting onto you how they connect with themselves. This is hell. That's what hell is, by the way. So heaven, Hermetic heaven, is you knowing that you came from being happy in your imagination. But you have to choose to enter hell and enter a vibration that's dense where you're not in control of anything to connect with other people in a way that makes sense. So now we can communicate how we control chaos. Your fire is your control and your water is your chaos. So when your mind is communicating how you control your chaos, how do you fire your water, that is producing energy. So when we're forced to go through a school system that teaches us that we don't create energy, that energy is not created or destroyed, that is literally an idea that was created by someone who wants us to feel like we're not creative. And chances are then they stole Hermetic principles that I created from my indigenous individuality to now tell me, as Hermes experiencing himself as Chase, that I'm not creative. And now it takes me as an indigenous individual to create a new idea of symmetry so that I can get out of all of that old weight, yet still be myself. I can still communicate to you who I am from past lives, and I can keep building upon my subconscious by expressing my imagination through my mind anchored to a body. This is what we're all doing, right? So the whole point of me doing this is to show you how the mind is your energy, your soul is your vibration, your frequency is your fire, your ego, and all of the energy that you're creating is you vibrating at a certain frequency. That's you connecting with a certain separate idea or a separation in general. So when you connect with something that you created to separate yourself, that's you communicating. You see that? So when you as a spirit create anything to separate yourself from space, that's fire. And then when you connect with that, that's water. And then when you communicate that, that's air. And then to structure that, that's earth. So my fire is my imagination of all of this, right? And it takes me connecting with it to draw it out and communicate it. And then it takes me being super practical in this realm to know how to correlate it onto technology, correlate it into a business, and correlate it into webbing structures of connections that just make sense. Right? So boom, like we can't run away from the alchemy that makes life matter. Everything is spiritual. This is how us as spirits create nature. So now spirits can create their religions inside of nature and speculate on if life is real. When like obviously you're experiencing life, but then people can just bring their imagination into a reality that was already imagined and say that this reality isn't real. And people are like, nothing's real, it's all fake. Like, bro, but you're just saying that you're fake because you're saying that you don't feel real when you're alone. Otherwise, you would understand that everything is fake until you make it real. Like, yeah, this body, all these body particles are fake until your soul makes them real. Because reality, realms and realities are us figuring out who we are. That 18 energy. And then 18 is that 9 energy because it's about us realizing that we are using our soul to see our ego. And that is what allows our spirit to communicate through a mind and connect to bodies. Because the body itself is the soul vibrating in a way that becomes structured. So this is why your soul is your body. So no body is connected to Mercury like I am, because Mercury is an expression of my first body in the universe. Like Mercury as a simulation is an expression of my soul into the universe. And then that's where I as a spirit can connect my soul to all the other spirits who I'm in resonance with. And then this is where I can communicate with people that I feel like understand me. Boom. And that's the whole point of life, right? So that's the whole point of even me doing this. I'm communicating, I'm building this business. I'm here being Chase Clarence Calloway, Symmetry, speaking into this video after this phone has completely disrespected me and these racist apps have completely disrespected me, and this technology is only meant to consume and steal my time and steal me from my family. I'm doing it all because this is my mission as Mercury, to get you to understand my ideas of Hermeticism. Because once you understand what Hermeticism, Semitism, and Zoroastrianism is, what Odinism is, what just Mercurianism is, once you understand this, you can see how all religions are built. You can see why the medical industry is using the caduceus to sell all their products. You can see why the Hollywood is obsessed with planting in Hermes and Egyptian stuff into all their movies, and admitting how they would literally not be possible if they didn't steal everything that they're using from Egypt. Now you can see why the back of the dollar bill is all Egyptian witchcraft being performed by white people who are stealing from black people. Okay, so this is how we create the universe. All right, this is why you as an individual body inside of a realm can have your own mind that can travel anywhere else. Like, I as an individual can separate my mind from my body and go to Atlantis. I can go to Mercury. I can go to any other simulation that my soul is in resonance with and connected to. So then this is the point of the soul. You can't communicate with spaces you're not connected to. So your soul is literally your ability to connect. All right, if you want to learn how you can connect with yourself in the highest vibrational way so that you actually meet God yourself and hang out in your own spirit, then yeah, hop into our online courses. All right, start water fasting with us. Start decolonizing your mind with us. Start getting creative with your calisthenics with us. And then boom, you'll be able to way more appreciate why your mind is even able to manipulate your arm in the first place. And you'll be able to appreciate all the connections, all the cells that have to make your body possible. And now life just becomes way better and way more harmonious, and you can build your family. Because it's literally this simple. No matter what your belief is, I know for a fact that you're alive because you want to build a family. And this is what we're talking about here. Because literally all of this results in us being a cosmic family. But now, obviously, based on who we resonate with as individuals, we create families inside of families, inside of families, inside of families. And then that's where we get soul groups and different pockets and densities of water. Boom. All right. So if you want to raise your vibration and actually meet God face to face and realize that it's the highest version of yourself, and remember why you came down here, so now life isn't as depressing, then yeah, hop into our online courses, and I'll see you later. Much love. Peace. Hopefully this saves. Yeah.